for everything so that we kind of know going forward where we're going to kind of cut corners. Not because of my speech so much. A lot of what's written on these 3 pages is pretty important. So, despite all the jokes, let's try to have everybody grab a seat and just bear with me. So, I'm going to start off by saying, as David mentioned earlier, we've achieved our highest turnout to date. At this time, I wanted to single out both Walt Stagner, that would be right here, Walt. I'm looking right at you. Our video man will later be playing 11 or 12 songs. Walt will start his set at 7:45 and go till 8:15. At 8:15, the Picnics will come on for 30 minutes for their second set. At 8:45, unfortunately, I come back for some closing remarks. Not too many there, folks. We're gonna have the mic open while equipment is being dismantled and taken to the cars, in and out. I want everybody to know that we will be welcoming testimonials to the microphone. So for the new people that have been here and have been experiencing their first Fan Fest, I would like them to come up and share how their day went. I don't have to hear my name, but I've had many sleepless nights leading up to this. I don't need any more. So if you want to toss the name out occasionally, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell you how we achieved the highest turnout, and then I'm going to tell you about some last-minute contributors that are very important, including one very special person. Here we go. Listen up. So I already singled Walt out. Now last year and the previous year, Walt's drummer, Bongo Straits were the second featured band. Forrest Colwyn was Walt's drummer. He couldn't make it this year, and I went to visit Walt back in January, and we had a 3-way conference call. He had some ideas about the event, things that he thought I could do to increase attendance. One of the main things that Forrest contributed was he suggested a pre-fest teaser. I don't think that he wanted it to be 22 minutes, which is what it ended up. I kind of put it together myself. If you go on YouTube and you go on my YouTube channel, which you've probably already done, it has, to this point in 7 months, over 400 hits. And it's 4 songs mixed in from last year's Fan Fest, all the particulars about the event, who you contact, how much it costs, pictures of Bob, pictures of Don, final tour. I think that helped. The other thing that helped is this fella here, Walt, last year in 2015, incredible, mid-October. Everyone's winding down from Fan Fest 15, and he has the nerve to tell me in a Skype. First it was an email, then he said, I have to Skype because your attitude is not good. So we Skyped. He said, why not pick a date now for Fan Fest 2017? Why wait until January to set up your Facebook page for 2017? Why not do it mid-October? Pick the date, set the Facebook page up, and it'll have 2016, even though we're in 2015. So by doing that, we automatically got word out earlier. Something that I on my own thought of was, I don't know, all of you Facebook members on the left-hand side, you'll see a lot of musical related sites that you can join. So what I did is I joined all 7, surf music appreciation, Mosrite guitar, anything related to surf music. I put our event on those sites and monitored that event daily. And we had columns like maybe, interested, going, can't go. And I would monitor it on a daily basis, and I'd pick up 1 or 2 people there. And I try to do it religiously, like I said, every other day. So that takes care of page 1. Thank you. By the way, thanks for the undivided attention. This is the best it's been in 8 years. It may go down next year. All right. So that was how we increased attendance. And now I'm going to talk about our late contributors. And we have the silent auction table. You may have seen vintage posters were donated by one Del Halterman, the only author the Ventures ever really liked because he wrote a book about them. So anyway, Del 2 years in a row has sent auction items, which Bob, a lot of that Bob auctioned off earlier. So we have to thank Del for that. Also, we have, as much as Del came through, and I think he would agree that he should have gone first because got a nice little batch of goodies from Tim Wilson and a recently retired dad by the name of Don. And that also came via Dennis Allard in the back. A little bit about Dennis. They sent a package to Dennis, who brought the guitar that you see in the back that has 80 signatures on it. Maybe it isn't 80. It's every conceivable important signature. And along with that guitar, he traveled 21 plus 3 delayed hours from Florida. And he took the train because he didn't want to trust the guitar on the plane. So let's have a hand for that, Dennis. And what we have is we have Dennis bringing not a boatload of stuff, but it really looked as though Don and Tim took their time and picked out some nice items. They sent a clock along. Those were already auctioned off, so you know what they were: the chord charts, the guitar bag. But when I say recently retired dad and I say Don, and I just want to say what a truly special man. And I'm kind of getting choked up, and it's not the right time to get choked up because there's a joke coming. What else is new? But here it is. Truly special man, and you imagine a man who, I better look at the mirrors. Simply amazing individual.
You'd be better off if you move that microphone to the middle. Like, instead of right in front of the speaker here.
Yeah, move it over here, John.
There you go. Yeah.
That way you're the center of attention.
It came at the best spot because you're going to love it. Here it goes. I guess when you deliver a joke, you shouldn't actually tell them in advance. All right. Here we go. And I got choked up at the wrong time, but here we go. So imagine over 60 plus years, a simply amazing individual as a top flight automobile mechanic. That was the joke. And I didn't get the reaction I thought I would. So, moving along and trying to be reverent, I'm looking right directly at Walt's camera when I say this to Mr. Don Wilson. You had a vision many years ago, and with your best friend, you followed it over 50 plus years to the ultimate climax. And for that, we thank you, and this Fan Fest is in your honor, Don. Speaking on behalf of all jammers here and all jammers worldwide and all fans worldwide, you couldn't have quit that construction job sooner, many years ago, and we thank you for that. Okay, so that was the reverend portion, if you can pick up on that. And we'd like to get to the Q&A, so I have here, there's one other gentleman to single out. He was singled out by Jeff Green when Jeff announced the special guest. What I would like to do now is I would like to bring up Mr. Bob Spalding. I would like to bring up Fiona Taylor. And Michael Bogle, would you please come up? And I've added Lucas Griffin. So I have, I believe, 4 chairs behind me, and just for the heck of it, I'm going to just sit in one. No. Let's bring them all up and have them be seated. And I will get through this next one as quick as I can.
Musical chairs.
say earlier, Jeff, I think the last special person that he mentioned that joined us from England was Dave Towers. And Dave, where is Dave? Dave with his wife, Carol. And I believe Bob's known Dave a very long time, and Dave goes back with the band. We were chatting, I guess one night, the last 2 nights, because all these nights blur together. And the night he came in and we were chatting, and I just had to find out. Dave Towers is the fella, anyone in the room who subscribed to the Ventures bulletins, which go back to the 70s and the 80s. And we had Davey Peckett, who first did the bulletins, and then Jerry Woodage, God bless his soul, who passed away, unfortunately, was running the bulletins overseas. But this gentleman here, beginning in 1996, every summer, each and every summer, and I tried to get a total figure. I'm going to actually ask him to come out with it at the end of when we're talking about somebody who met the Ventures every summer when the plane landed in Japan. This man met them, followed them throughout the entire tour of Japan, sometimes 33 dates, maybe a little bit less. And he reported on each concert, and he did that, I guess, to this day, a 96 to what, Dave? Up till the present, am I right? And he also included some winter tours as well. He might have missed one summer, he tells me. So we got 30, anybody who's been to Japan, Bob can vouch for this, that the cities in Japan, you hop on a train and you might not be on the train 6 hours, one city, 8 hours another. I would like to think that people who know Dave and what he contributed to the bulletins would think that he's the ultimate fan like I do. I was told that there's no such thing as the ultimate fan, and everybody in this building probably thinks they're the ultimate fan. But somebody who's seen as many concerts as this man has, and we put all of these people in this room together and add all the times they've seen the Ventures, does not come anywhere near how many times this gentleman has seen them and covered them and really shared their experience with us. So I wanted to just make sure he was going to be part of the Q&A. He suggested to me that a more appropriate choice would be Mr. Lucas Griffin. So I'm going to ask Bob to start things off. There was something Bob meant to share with us last year. It's not going to take long, and I'll turn it over to Bob. And unfortunately, I'll be back in another hour and a half. I really thank everyone for really listening this year. I thought all of that needed to be said. Mr. Bob Spalding.
Let me just, hello. Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can? Oh, let me get that.
I'm moving in front of the speaker. Nope. I'm good. He's got to make sure he's supposed to have the mic in front of the speaker.
Okay. All right. Let me just follow up with what Tom said, because I really want to recognize Dave, because Dave really has become a fixture over in Japan. So when we go on tour in Japan, not only do we know Dave, but the crew knows Dave. And there's several other millions of people that know Dave in Japan. So let's just give a round of applause to Dave Towers. And I'll add this footnote. Dave is an excellent bass player. He's left-handed bass player, but we don't hold that against him. But he's an excellent bass player. So thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for making the trip over here too. We appreciate it. Oh yes, there was something that happened last year, and Tom wanted me to mention it. We were getting on a plane for Philadelphia and Austin. And
If you do that, you have to turn the speaker.
Artie was upgraded to first class, and my wife, Artie. And so she was getting on the plane, she was loading in first class, and there was this real tall guy behind her, and she looked around, and it was James Taylor, and he had just finished a PBS thing and the Austin City Limits thing in Austin, and so she went around, she saw him, and they talked for a moment, and said that she was going to Philadelphia with her husband, who played in the Ventures, and he said, "The Ventures?" And she said, "Yeah." So we got to Philadelphia, and we got off, and we were waiting for the baggage. We were all down at the baggage thing. And I saw James over there, and I went over there, and I said, "I don't know who travels most, me or you?" And he said, "Yeah, probably me." And so I asked him where he was going, and I said I had just gotten back from Japan. He had just gotten back from Japan also. He did 3 cities. We did 34 cities. But he was on his way up to look at a college, I think, for his kids up in Massachusetts. But it's great to run into people like that in the airport. So that was my rubbing shoulders with celebrities right now. Okay, who's got some questions? What was that?
Said it was his rubbing shoulders with celebrity.
Right, yeah. They used to, but they moved. Okay, who has questions? Oh, come on.
This isn't good.
They know
I have-
Because if
everything.
it was just you, now there's 4 people.
Okay.
And no-
I have questions. What time, do you have an early flight tomorrow?
That's
Do you?
Yes, I do.
I was asking Mr. Bogle, what was it like growing up with your dad? Good question. Did you do any traveling with him, or?
I did. I went to Japan with him in '77, and it was the best time of my life. Growing up and having a dad like that was really great. Can't be overstated.
And he flew a plane, right?
Yeah, he was a pilot, good pilot, and we flew a lot. And used to fly from Los Angeles to Portland and back, and just for fun, over the beach.
Did you play bass at all?
I don't play very well, so I'm trying to get better though. I started learning how to play the bass when I was 10, and the bass got stolen a couple years later. It was a Mosrite.
Oh.
And I've tried throughout the years, but I've had other interests that I've pursued, and I still have an interest to learn. As of right now, I wouldn't get up and play.
Appreciate your dad and his contribution.
Yeah, I appreciate all the kind comments I've heard today. Really makes me feel good.
Hey, Bob, tell us how you met Lucas. How you met Luke and got him in?
Oh, how did I meet Luke?
Yeah.
I was coming to Philadelphia. No.
Bob just his
Ian, my son.
his water.
Um,
Bob's feet.
His wife, Sandra, which you saw last year, who was here, and she had a friend in Zumba class,
I don't know. He just knows.
which was Luke's wife. And she said to Sandra that Luke was a musician. And Sandra said, "Well, we won't hold that against him." And no, she said, "Well, that's funny. My husband's a musician too." And so that's how Ian and Luke met. And so we were starting to do some recording, and so Luke plays bass and guitar. So we decided to use him on the album that we were working on at the time, and so Ian introduced Luke to me, and then we indoctrinated him into the Ventures, and he's done very well. Yes. We even taught him how to play bass with a pick, which he does now.
No.
Would you like to elaborate?
That's pretty much it. I mean, met, got to know Ian and Sandra over a few years, and then Ian approached me one day and said we might need a 4th at some point. Would you be interested? I said, if that ever comes up, yeah, we'll have that conversation. Absolutely. And a couple of days later, he says it's come up. You know, you want to meet the boss. So I mean, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible honor. You know, not even just to work on the albums and to be part of such a great legacy is really special, and I'd have never expected it.
Bob, I had mentioned something last year. You when you made contact last year to come to the event, you had all the times and everything, and had just gotten to the airport. Oh, he's forget about. He says, "I'm sorry." You didn't say, "I need you to shut up." You didn't say, but you said something that happened just now, and I wanted to share it with at the Fan Fest, and I forgot to ask you about that. And you ran into a celebrity. I guess he was getting his luggage the same time you were. You ran into a celebrity, and you were going to share who that was that you ran into.
Yes, yeah, that was James Taylor.
Right.
So we're going to ask Tom. We're going to ask Tom to maybe ease up on the drinking for just maybe half hour. You know, the first thing that goes is your memory. Yes, right. Yeah.
Sorry, gang. I might have stepped out. I don't know.
Yeah.
At any rate.
We'd like to actually recognize Tom because he did such a class type of choreography tonight. Didn't he? Didn't he do a great job? Let's hear it.
I have a question. I'm sorry I blew that one, gang.
Okay.
I have a question for Fiona. Did you have to do any kind of like auditioning when you took over managing the like you took over for someone else way back when you were starting to manage, the band and that kind of thing?
Well,
did you have to, I don't mean audition, but you didn't get the job right away. Didn't they have to do research? No research.
What had happened? What had happened was that over the several years after Sonny Rivera, the Ventures manager for many, many years, she retired, and Mel took over an awful lot of the work. And because I did work at home, as well as my own office, he used to say, "Well, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Well, we got royalties to do here. Let's do something else with that." So I was doing a lot of stuff helping him. So when he died, I guess Don and Bob said, "Well, what do we do now?" So the first time they came to my house after he died, after the funeral, was probably a month or so later, and we were getting ready to go to Washington, D.C. to do the Smithsonian show. And everybody came over to my house, and they said, "Well, we think we'd like you to be the manager." So I said, "Oh, well, okay. I guess it'll give me something else to do. Okay, why not?" So that was about it, really.
Okay.
And I had cards printed. That was it.
Which is the first thing everybody always does when they get a new position. Get
Yes,
the cards
get the card
first.
printed. Yeah.
Hand them out.
Yes.
Even if you're not assured of staying at the job
Yes.
24 hours.
But I have to say, it was very strange, because the following year when I went to Japan, and I got off the bus, that they ride around in over there, and we walked into the hotel, he said, "Now," Don said to me, "Well, remember, you're the manager." Okay, all right. I am. I be the manager. Okay, good. So that was it. No audition.
Get a badge?
No badge. Nothing. Just the cards and the checkbook.
You got the checkbook, you got,
No, the checkbook. I have to distribute the checks, don't I?
I tell you what,
So that's it.
checkbook's got the power.
Bob, I have a question for you. When I was down in Austin, that performance there at the Townsend, you mentioned that you guys were doing a new album with some new material and some of the old material. Has that been released, or when it will be?
No, we're working through the details of our next U.S. release right now, and we're hoping that we can get the recordings decided upon, and the terms and conditions and all that worked out by November, so that we can have a November release for that. Yes. We're also, just along those lines, in terms of, for everybody who wants to and is interested in, new venture material, is that we are negotiating with another company for yet another album, which would be a kind of an all-star album. We've been approached with another concept of an all-star album where different people would play on the album. Peter Frampton, in this case, we've been approached with Peter Frampton, Todd Rundgren, and a guitar player out of Cheap Trick, and a number of other players, but to bring them in and they play, you know, certain songs for that. And then we have the ongoing negotiations with the Japanese in terms of, you know, what new product they want to support the tour. Yeah. So I would say, you know, keep looking, checking the website, and look at perhaps a November release of the first Venture U.S. album in about 20 years. So we're real excited about that. Thank you. So we all need you to buy 10 copies each. No, just kidding.
Bob, that was almost the answer to the question I was going to ask. We're very familiar with how Don used to talk about how he'd listen to the radio and find a song that they thought would be a big hit, and they quickly run in and make a version of it and get it out, and that's how so many of their ventures, big hits got started back in the beginning. A lot has changed in the industry and certainly radio, but could you put us around a table for a minute, talk about the song selection process and what you do now that you didn't do then, or do you still do it the same way and look for songs that are out that are popular the way you guys used to back then?
No, that's a good question. We generally try to start with some type of concept. And over the last 5 years, I think we've done, you know, certain conceptual albums where the material has to fit the concept, if you will. Songs of summer and things of that nature. On the other hand, what you have to balance that out with is that every time a record company wants you to do something, they have material in mind, and they say, okay, well, you do these songs, and we'll give you money. Remember that? They don't give us money anymore. They say, just give us songs. The whole business has been, you know, kind of turned upside down in terms of what it, you know, the way we used to work and the way it works now. Because the concept of a hit record is really not there anymore. It's only there if you're an A artist and you're a performance artist like Adele or you know, Beyonce or somebody like that. And obviously, we're not the answer to Beyonce by any means. So, yes, even though we can dance really well. So, thank you so much. But we do look for interesting instrumentals, and we do look for instrumentals that we can turn into what we feel are interesting venture-type songs. And you guys are the key to that, because when we do a song, we try to do it, and part of the criteria is, well, do you think people will, you know, like this? Do you think our fans will like this? So we kind of have that as a starting point, and then we try to move on from there to get it, you know, get it maybe somewhat modernized in terms of how we arrange it and also how we record it. Just as a side note to this year, we did a couple of interesting things. One is the record company wanted us to do a song called Night in Tunisia. Yeah, Night in Tunisia, which is a Dizzy Gillespie song. I don't know if you're aware of that. Or if you're not, I'll ask you to get on iTunes and listen to Dizzy Gillespie's version, and then ask yourself, how would I put that into a venture song? It was a challenge. It was a very good challenge. So, but we did that, and we have that. We have a Ventures version of Night in Tunisia on the Hits Anew album from Japan. Secondly, the record companies came up and said, we have negotiated a agreement with a very big guitarist in Japan, and he wants to write a song particularly for the Ventures, and they got him to do that. And so they gave us that song about, I don't know, 2 weeks before we had to get the masters recorded, or get the song recorded and get it mastered. So we went through his demo, and his demo was also very interesting. It was about 5 minutes long, and I went through all these different kind of things. It was almost kind of classical in terms of the amount of, sections it had in it. But we took that one, and we got together and put that in a what I think we all agreed on was a Ventures type of orientation, and it's called Tokyo Lonely Nights, and that's on the new album also. So that's some of the challenges that we're facing now, and kind of how we, move forward with some of these things. But by the way, let me ask everybody here, with some of the concepts that we've thought of, one of the concepts is the Ventures play the American Songbook. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I love the idea. Personally, I would, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you say the American song,
Well, we looked at that, and there are various articles that talk about the American Songbook. And the Ventures have, in their past, done a lot of the American, many songs for the American Songbook. Blue Skies is one, and but there's been several that we've done. But we're not no one's really experts in these things. But if you think that would be something that would be interesting, and you'd like to hear something like that, we can move forward on these. Yes, sir.
did you reissue the Christmas album?
Which one?
Were there two of them? I don't know which one.
Well, yeah.
They reissued the first one again, re-recorded.
The original Christmas album was reissued several times by Capitol, now Universal, EMI. And then what would that have been, about 10, 15 years ago, the Ventures recorded a new Christmas album that was released on Varese Sarabande here. It was actually released for Japan too. And we had to slightly change it for here because the original concept back in the 60s, there was no such thing as sampling. So if you had the intros from other songs, nobody cared. They thought it was kind of cute. But now they want to be paid for it. So when the new one was done, they couldn't do it exactly the same way. They had to have things that sounded kind of like, but not quite. So that's the way they did that. But that is out there. It's still available.
How about a new Christmas album?
I'm a fan of the Ventures, but I'm also a fan of the Shadows. And I always felt the Shadows had a secret weapon in that they had a guy named Jerry Lorden who wrote a lot of hits for them, who wasn't part of the band, but got them material. He's the guy that wrote Apache. Have you ever thought of maybe the Ventures doing an album of just the Jerry Lorden stuff?
That's a good idea. I've thought many times about reversing the whole situation and doing a whole album of Shadow stuff. Because the Shadows, it's somewhat of an enigma because the Shadows are very well known throughout the world, with the exception of the United States. The Ventures are known throughout the world, the exception of certain parts of Europe, UK being one of them. And it's not that they're not known; they're just not not known as well as the Shadows. But that's very good. That's a very good concept of trying to do Jerry Lorden's material.
There's enough hits in there. That,
Yes,
that
and very good things.
certainly have good tunes.
We
Need some tension too.
Yes,
Trust me.
yeah.
People be talking about that album.
Exactly. We, if I were to draw a corollary to the Ventures in their early days, that would have been a gentleman named Danny Hamilton. Because Danny Hamilton wrote many of not many, but he wrote some really significant songs, one being Diamond Head. And Kinnaid did a song tonight called Candy Concoction, which was penned by Danny Hamilton. And also, if you're aware of the Ventures in Space album, Danny wrote War of the Satellites. So he was a very good instrumental writer.
I have a question for Luke. Do you feel your addition to the band as attracting young, new fans to the Ventures?
That's a good question. I think with the addition of Ian and myself, sorry. I think the addition of Ian and myself definitely brings a new, younger energy into some of the newer material. As far as attracting younger fans, I don't know if I'm much of a draw. But yeah, with Ian and myself, we're definitely trying to push the songs to be a little bit faster, a little bit more, a little, back to the driving 60s sound. So I think that will help with the younger fans. Yes, sir.
I think you would look really good in a white long sleeve shirt, a thin black tie, and a pastel jacket. Now, there you go.
That was what I wore yesterday.
When the Ventures originally started, they all wore suits and ties.
That's right.
And nobody does that now. Maybe it's time to go
back.
Bob, one of the things that I was curious about, I know that a lot of us guys that have been, and gals, that have been fans for a long time, really like the deeper tracks off of the albums. And it's always kind of disappointing to us that when we go see the Ventures in concert, it was pretty much, 90% the old stuff, the standard stuff. And of course, the comment, that I know that Don had made before, well, that's what we have to play because that's what people want to hear.
Right.
Have you thought about, I know you've done a little bit of this, but have you thought about really digging into some of those really deep tracks and bringing them back?
Yes, the Ventures are going through and have been going through a transition for some time now, and which is natural for a group that's been around this long. I've been working with the group and been a part of the group for, geez, I don't know, probably close to 40 years. And so the group has gone through the process where we've lost key players. They've passed away. And then some of the other players, like Don, have decided to retire. And of course, at 82, he'll be 83 next year. No, you can't blame him for that, for that. So as we move through this, one of the directions that we seem to be going toward, and are being pushed by the new people in the band, is that we're going back to the roots, and we're going to go back to songs that really made the group famous. So we're going to go back and start to do things that you can associate with a jacket, a tie, and the driving beat, and so that's what we're thinking in moving forward.
Bob, I wanted to mention, she has the cake out. Anyone who wants to take a picture of the cake before it gets carved, she's going to then slice the cake. We're going to continue with the Q&A. He did mention to me that your drink spilled, so we don't want you getting up and slipping. He has instructed me that I'm allowed to take the mop, and I'm allowed to come over there. So evidently, not much of the host. I guess I get all.
Yes, I did that.
Yes. But anyway, so we just want to make sure it's all right as long as nobody gets up and walks over that.
Okay.
But if they want to take a picture of the cake, she'll cut the cake,
Sure.
and people can get a piece of cake, get coffee, and come back, and we'll continue this till 4:45.
Yeah, if anyone wants to take a picture of the cake, we're at the point where the cake will be served here momentarily. So, but if you want to take a picture of the cake, please go over there at the table and take a picture. And
we understand that the four of you would not be able to get up to look at the cake, so you'll have to depend on pictures. Otherwise, you'll slip. Anyway, so if anyone wants to take the picture with me now, then they're going to cut the cake.
Okay. Yes, we have some questions over here.
Going to be any performances in the United States?
We're trying real hard to get back into playing U.S., Europe, Kevin.
Even if it's not a tour, do you do like maybe like a 1 or 2 show weekend or anything?
Well, we'd like to get back into what we were doing about 5 years ago, which is the casino route and the community theater route, which seems to be where a lot of the legacy folks play, and still do. Yeah. Did you want to say, Fiona, did you want to say anything about the challenges?
Oh, well, the challenge of doing a tour is to get an agent who can book you not just weekends, because when you go out with 4 people and crew from different places all over the US, you have to fly everybody. You've got to have equipment or arrange for equipment, and a lot of places only book Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if you're out on the road and you have 3 dead days every week, it gets really expensive, because somebody has to foot the bill for the hotels and the travel and the per diem and all the rest of it. And it's really a challenge. And a lot of agents just, they don't want to be bothered with it a lot of the time. So it's very hard to do.
You all played a place called the Birchmere in
Yes.
Alexandria once, and they have music practically 7 nights a week. There's a place
I
like
know they do,
there's
yes.
a place like that down in Richmond now, somewhat smaller, called the Tin Pan. And if you could get into places like that book music every night of the week, it would pay you to be on the road. But like you say, you don't want to sit by the pool for 3 days waiting for the next day.
Especially not in Philadelphia in December.
Or even in early October here.
No, but that's basically the problem. We like the Birchmere. We played there many times, and they're good people. But yeah, and Bethlehem. Stackhouse. Well, Steel Stacks. Stackhouse. No, Steel Stacks in Bethlehem.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
And